One New York Times writer is telling commuters who worry about subway safety that it's all in their heads, writing, quote, "I've safely ridden the subway for 23 years and my child has never been menaced by a half-naked lunatic. But these imaginary monsters are in your head and they are addressable with therapy." That's despite the 121 reported subway attacks last year. And just earlier this year, our own Adam Klotz was attacked on his way to work. Former New York State Senate candidate Maria Danzilo ambushed while walking her dog in Central Park. They both join me now. Great to have you both here. I'm going to start with Adam. Look, I saw your face. Were the thugs that messed you up imaginary?
They were not imaginary. I feel like Elizabeth, the author of this, needs to check her own privilege in this situation. Marie Antoinette famously starving France, no bread, said, "Let him eat cake." This smells the same to me because she is so disconnected from what's actually happening in this city that maybe she should stop and have a little empathy for people who go through these situations, because it can be scary out there and it's okay to be afraid. These are not imaginary monsters.
You're a good Midwestern boy with like good sensibilities. I'm a hot-headed Italian, so when I heard that, I was really ticked off for you. What was your initial reaction when you saw a comment for somebody like that after what you just went through a few months ago?
Well, it's really upsetting because I do feel like we're supposed to step back and put ourselves in other people's shoes. And this is particularly really popular on the left, like check your privilege, check your privilege. And I feel like, there's a lot of folks out there who've gone through really tough situations and she's not thinking about them. And then as soon as I've been through it, I suddenly, it opens your eyes and you think, boy, these things are scary, and people who are scared deserve to be a little afraid.
Maria, you were sucker punched in Central Park by someone who seemed to be mentally ill. What's your message to the author of this nonsensical tweet?
Well, I think that it was a very provocative statement and really unfair to people who have to ride the subway every day, especially people who've experienced violence on the subway and elsewhere in New York City. We have a city that is filled with essential workers, and people have to take early morning trains. My own family, I ride the subway regularly. My family rides the subway. Try going to work at a 7 a.m. shift at a hospital in a different borough. You have to take a train for quite a long distance, and it's really, very condescending to say that what people are experiencing is not safe. I also want to say she talked about, her child not experiencing any problems on the subway. And I think that's great that she found a way to commute around the city that doesn't put her child in danger. I do want to say that as a mother of 3 children, I think it's really important to make sure that they do have, street smarts in how they commute around the city and how they interact with people in a very, very dense place like New York City. So you really want to make sure your kids are aware of their surroundings, that adults are aware of their surroundings. We've had a lot of violence on the subway and elsewhere in the city, and it doesn't really serve anyone, and is really very provocative to say something like what people are seeing and experiencing isn't real. I think that kind of gaslighting is really doing a lot of damage to the city. I think the only way we're going to move forward is to be honest about what's going on, and only then can we really address what's happening.
But Maria, to Adam's point that he made earlier, it's not just this woman who wrote this tweet. There's a subset of people in this city, many of them obviously on the left, who have this view that, like, New York's fine, and we're going to tell you that New York's fine despite what your eyes tell you. Why? Why do you think they're so committed to pushing this narrative that, hey, there's nothing to see here?
I think they just don't want to face reality that we have a crime problem, and they're to blame, basically. I mean, they're the ones who are in power, and they're the ones who are bringing us these kinds of, policies that aren't really prioritizing the safety of everyone in New York City, including people who are mentally ill and need to be getting proper treatment. So, it's a way to kind of deflect and avoid the problem. The real problem is that we have leadership in this city who just aren't taking it seriously, and it's reflected in the way they're gaslighting. I think, to be honest, is really important. That's the only way we're going to address this problem, is to actually look it in the eye and say we really do have a problem here.
Maria, we thank you for your time. Adam Klotz, I always mention whenever I interview you something like this, you were my office mate, and I was very sad when this happened to you. No joking.
Yeah, look at us now.
Look at us now. But I'm glad you could really bring this to light and talk to the people about this, because it's a serious thing that happened to you, and it shouldn't have. People need to wake up. Klotz, thank you.